Do you hear that sound? Listen closely. It is the sound of silence, followed by a tick-tock, tick-tock. That is the sound of the bankruptcy clock ticking for the biggest banks on Wall Street. For years, they smashed the price of silver with a sledgehammer. For years, they looked down from their glass towers and told you that silver was a pet rock, that it was a barbarous relic, that it was worthless. They laughed at you. They mocked your stack. They called you a conspiracy theorist for believing that the price was manipulated. But in video 1, when China cut the supply line, their laughter stopped. In video 2, when the vaults ran dry, they started to sweat. In video 3, when the industry collapsed, they panicked. And now it is their turn to beg. The trap that we have been talking about for decades, the legendary gamma squeeze, has officially been triggered. Do you remember GameStop? Do you remember when a bunch of kids on Reddit took down a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund called Melvin Capital? That was a historic moment. It felt good. But let me tell you the truth. GameStop was just a trailer. It was a practice run. It was a skirmish. What is happening right now in the silver market is the main event. It is World War III. In GameStop, one hedge fund went bust. In the silver squeeze, the entire Western banking system is on the table. We are not just coming for their bonus checks. We are coming for their existence. This is the death spiral. It is a mathematical black hole that the banks have wandered into, and there is no way out. To understand why this is happening and why a $1,000 price target is not a fantasy but a mathematical certainty, you have to understand the casino they built. Imagine a casino where the house sells tickets for a lottery. They sell 500 tickets for every one prize they actually have in the vault. They do this because they assume that nobody will ever ask for the prize. They assume you will just trade the ticket back and forth for cash. This is called fractional reserve banking. It is called the naked short. For every 1 ounce of physical silver sitting in the COMEX vaults, the banks have sold 500 paper ounces to investors. 500 to 1 leverage. It is a fraud so massive that it is almost impossible to comprehend.
It worked perfectly for 40 years because the public was asleep. But today, the public woke up. And more importantly, the industrial giants woke up. Yesterday, the price of silver started to rise. The banks did what they always do. They shorted it. They printed millions of fake paper contracts and dumped them into the market to crush the price. This is their algorithm. If price goes up, sell paper to push it down. It works every time, until today. Today, they dumped the paper, but the price didn't go down. It went up. They dumped more. It went up faster. Why? Because there's a whale on the other side of the trade, a whale that doesn't care about paper, a whale that is demanding physical delivery. When the bank sells a contract, they are creating a liability. If the price of silver goes up by $1, they lose billions. If it goes up by $10, they are insolvent. We have entered the phase of the squeeze, where the suppressor becomes the buyer. This is the irony of the death spiral. To close out their losing positions, to stop the bleeding, the banks have to buy back the contracts they sold. But when they buy back the contracts, what does that do to the price? It pushes the price up. And when the price goes up, their remaining short positions lose even more money, so they have to buy more, which pushes the price up more. It is a feedback loop. It is a fire that creates its own wind. And because the physical market is dry, because China isn't selling and you aren't selling, there is no liquidity to put out the fire. They are trapped in a burning building with no exits, and they are holding cans of gasoline. This is why I say that $1,000 is inevitable. It is not about what silver is worth. It is about what the banks are worth. We are going to transfer the entire balance sheet of JP Morgan, of Citi, of HSBC into the pockets of the people holding physical silver. This is the greatest wealth transfer in human history, and it is not happening because of a law or a tax. It is happening because of pure, cold mathematics.
The GameStop squeeze ended because the brokerages turned off the buy button. They cheated. But they cannot turn off the buy button on physical silver. They cannot stop Tesla from needing metal. They cannot stop China from hoarding. The physical market is too big, too decentralized, and too essential to be controlled by a breaker switch. They can close the COMEX, yes, but that just blows up the paper price. The street price will keep ripping until it finds the equilibrium, and that equilibrium is 4 digits. I want you to visualize this. I want you to feel the magnitude of this moment. For years, you have been the underdog. You have been David fighting Goliath. Goliath had the algorithms. Goliath had the media. Goliath had the politicians. All you had was a few ounces of metal and the truth. Well, Goliath just tripped. He is lying on the ground, and you are standing over him with the stone. The psychology of the market has shifted from fear to greed. For a long time, investors were afraid to buy silver because the price kept dropping. Now, the banks are afraid to sell silver because they don't have it. The fear has changed sides, and the greed is about to kick in. When the general public realizes what is happening, when they see the headlines that a major bank has failed because of a silver bet, the fear of missing out, or FOMO, will be vertical. We saw it with Bitcoin. We saw it with Nvidia. But the silver market is tiny compared to those. If just 1% of the capital in the stock market tries to squeeze into the silver market, the price will not just double, it will do a 10x, it will do a 20x. You are sitting on a winning lottery ticket, but the lottery isn't random. The numbers were rigged in your favor by the very people who tried to cheat you. They suppressed the price so low for so long that they built a coiled spring with 50 years of tension in it. Today, the spring snapped. The gamma squeeze gets its name from the options market. It refers to the rate of change of the price. It implies an acceleration that is so fast the computer models cannot keep up. Right now, the risk management computers at the big banks are flashing red. They are screaming at the traders to cover. Buy, buy, buy. But who are they buying from?
They have to buy from you. And you are not selling. You are locking the vault. You are watching the price tick up. $35, $40, $50. That is just the pre-market. When the squeeze really catches traction, you will see $10 moves in a single hour. You will see trading halts. You will see the talking heads on TV crying about market stability. They will call you a villain. They will say you are breaking the economy. They will say you are greedy. Do not listen to them. Their greed created this mess. Your greed is just the correction. You are simply demanding the fair market value for a scarce asset that they promised to deliver but couldn't. Think about the arrogance it took for them to sell silver they didn't own. They thought they were gods. They thought they could print paper silver forever and nobody would notice. They treated the global economy like their personal piggy bank. Well, today we are smashing the piggy bank. The death spiral is accelerating as we speak. I'm looking at the order book. There are no sellers. The ask side of the ledger is empty. The bid side is piling up. This is a liquidity crisis of biblical proportions. When there are only buyers and no sellers, the price has to go to a level that forces someone to sell. What is your price? Is it $100? No. Is it $200? No, because if you sell at $200, you are letting them off the hook easy. You need to hold for the bankrupt the Fed price. You need to hold for the price that changes your family's destiny for 3 generations. This is not a trade. This is a siege. We have surrounded the castle. We have cut off the water. We have cut off the food. And now we wait. The pain they are feeling is the pain of unbacked leverage unwinding. Every naked short is a debt that must be paid, and the currency of payment is silver, not dollars. They can print dollars. They cannot print the metal. That is the fundamental asymmetry of this trade. They are short real things. They are long, fake things. As the price climbs, you will see the weaker banks fold first. We saw it with Lehman Brothers in 2008. One bank fails and panic spreads. But this time, the toxic asset isn't housing. It's the promise of silver. Every bank that has a U unallocated silver account is technically short. They owe metal they don't have. When customers rush to withdraw, the bank collapses. This forces the central bank to print money to bail them out. That printed money causes inflation. Inflation makes silver go higher. Higher silver bankrupts the next bank. This is the loop. This is the spiral. It feeds itself. It cannot be stopped by interest rates. It cannot be stopped by regulation. It can only be stopped by price. The price has to go high enough to balance the books. And since the books are cooked to the tune of 500 to 1, the price has to go to the moon. You are witnessing the destruction of the paper rigging mechanism. The COMEX, the LBMA, these institutions were designed to control the price. They are now the engine of their own destruction. The leverage they use to suppress the price is now the rocket fuel that will send it into orbit. In the next part of this video, I am going to walk you through the specific mechanics of the squeeze. I am going to explain how the margin calls work and why the force majeure declaration we discussed earlier was actually the trigger that blew up the derivatives market. I will show you why the option's expiration date next Friday is the day the system dies. The Davids have gathered, the stones are in the air, and Goliath is looking up at the sky, realizing for the first time in history that he is mortal. This is not just a market movement, it is a revolution, and you are on the front lines.
We have talked about the crime. Now we have to talk about the punishment. To understand exactly how this plays out, you have to look at the global banking system not as a financial institution, but as a rigged casino. For 40 years, JP Morgan and the bullion banks were the house. They owned the table, they marked the cards, they spun the wheel. And because they had infinite paper money, they always won. They convinced the world that the paper chips were worth the same as the gold and silver bars in the vault. But today, the players did something the house never expected. The players stood up, walked to the cashier window, and slammed their chips on the counter. They said, "We don't want chips anymore. We want the cash. We want the metal." And then the players turned around and locked the doors of the casino from the inside. The house is trapped, the pit boss is sweating, and the vault is empty. This is the moment where the mathematics of the fraud turns into the physics of the collapse. Let's break down the mechanics of this gamma squeeze so you understand exactly why they cannot escape. It all comes down to leverage. The 500 to 1 ratio I mentioned is not just a scary number, it is a death sentence. Imagine a game of musical chairs with 500 people and only one chair. The music has been playing for 40 years. Today, the music stopped. When the price of silver rises, the banks who are short, meaning they bet the price would go down, get a phone call. It is called a margin call. The clearinghouse demands more cash to cover their losing bet. Usually, the banks would just sell more paper contracts to smash the price back down and make the problem go away. But they can't do that anymore because nobody is buying the paper. Everyone wants physical. So to meet the margin call, they have to put up real cash, billions of dollars. This drains their liquidity, but it gets worse. As the price keeps rising, thanks to China and the industrial panic, their losses grow exponentially. This is where the gamma comes in. Gamma is a term from options trading. It measures how fast the bank's exposure changes as the price moves. When we enter a gamma squeeze, the bank is forced to buy silver futures to hedge their losses. They are forced to become buyers in a rising market. Think about the insanity of that. The entity that wants the price to go down is forced by the math of the market to buy, which pushes the price up. They are pouring gasoline on their own funeral pyre. They are buying at $35. They are buying at $40. They are buying at $50. Every time they buy, they trigger more margin calls for other banks, who then have to buy. It is a chain reaction. It is a nuclear meltdown of the derivatives market. And the clock is ticking toward next Friday. Next Friday is options expiration. This is the event horizon. On that day, millions of paper contracts have to be settled. If the price of silver is above a certain level, let's say $50, the banks are on the hook for billions of ounces they do not have. They have two choices: default and declare bankruptcy, or go into the open market and pay any price to get the metal. This is the Max Payne scenario for them. They are staring at the calendar and seeing their own execution date. This is why I say the price target is irrelevant. People ask if it will stop at $100. Why would it? If you were a bank and you need silver to avoid prison, you will pay $100. You will pay $500. You will pay $1,000, because the alternative is total collapse. The price will go to the level necessary to shake the physical silver out of the strong hands. But here is the problem for them. The hands holding silver today are the strongest hands in history. They are the diamond hands. They are the stackers who have been preparing for this for decades. They are the Chinese government. They are the Russian central bank. Do you think Putin is going to sell his silver to JP Morgan for $50? No, he is going to sit back and watch them burn. Do you think the stacker who has been ridiculed for years is going to sell at the first sign of profit? No, he wants vindication. He wants to see the system break. We are witnessing a standoff where the sellers have infinite patience and the buyers have zero time. That is the recipe for a vertical price move. We are talking about a hockey stick chart, a line that goes straight up. And in that environment, wealth is not just created, it is transferred.
This is the David's versus Goliath moment. But this time, David doesn't just have a sling, he has the leverage. Every ounce of silver you hold is a claim on the bank's remaining equity. When silver hits $1,000, that wealth has to come from somewhere. It comes from the banking sector. It comes from the fiat currency system. We are draining the lifeblood of the parasite and injecting it back into the host. The host is the real economy. The host is you. Let's visualize what this means for your life. I want you to really see it. For years, an ounce of silver could maybe buy you a steak dinner if you were lucky. Usually, it was just enough for a few gallons of gas. It was pocket change. At $1,000 an ounce, that single coin in your pocket pays your mortgage for the month. A tube of 20 coins buys a new car. A monster box of 500 coins buys a house. This is not a fantasy. This happened in Weimar Germany. It happened in Zimbabwe. When the currency collapses and the hard asset revalues, the purchasing power of the metal goes exponential. But this time, it is global. It is not just one country's currency dying. It is the global reserve currency system imploding. The rush into silver will be unlike anything we have ever seen because there are billions of people with dollars, euros, and yen, and there is only a tiny amount of silver. The banks know this. That is why they are terrified. That is why they are calling the White House. That is why they are declaring force majeure. They are trying to change the rules in the middle of the game because they realized they have lost. But they cannot change the laws of supply and demand. They cannot print an industrial metal. They are trapped in the reality they tried to ignore. And let's talk about the industrial players again, because they are the accelerant in this fire. Tesla, Apple, Samsung, they are not speculators. They are not playing a game. For them, silver is oxygen. If they don't get it, they die. They are watching this squeeze and they are terrified. They are realizing that the just-in-time supply chain is dead.
So what are they doing? They are front-running the banks. They are trying to buy the silver before the banks can cover their shorts.
This creates a bidding war between the two most powerful forces in the economy, the financial giants versus the industrial giants, Wall Street versus Silicon Valley. And the prize is the metal in your safe. Wall Street needs it to close their shorts. Silicon Valley needs it to build their phones. They are going to fight each other to the death for your silver, and you are the one holding the auction gavel. You set the price. If you don't sell at $100, the price goes to $200. If you don't sell at $200, it goes to $500. The market has to find your selling price. This is the power you hold. You have never held this kind of power before. You are used to taking whatever price the market gives you. Now you are the market maker. The death spiral is a beautiful thing to watch if you are on the right side of the trade. It is the restoration of natural law. For too long, the financial economy has been a leech on the productive economy. The paper pushers made billions while the miners and the workers struggled. The squeeze reverses that flow. The paper pushers go bankrupt. The holders of real assets become the new elite. This is why the emotions are so high. It is revenge. It is justice. It is the little guy finally winning. And the best part is, we didn't have to do anything illegal. We didn't have to occupy Wall Street. We didn't have to riot. We just had to buy silver and sit on it. We just had to do nothing. Our inaction is their destruction. By refusing to play their paper game, by refusing to sell, we are starving the beast. The squeeze is not just about money, it is about truth. The price of silver has been a lie for 50 years. $30 silver is a lie. It is a subsidized price that allows the West to live beyond its means. $1,000 silver is the truth. It reflects the scarcity, the utility, and the monetary debasement of the dollar. We are forcing the world to acknowledge the truth, and the truth is expensive.
As we move toward the options expiration next Friday, expect the volatility to be insane. The banks will try one last smash. They will try to scare you. They might dump 1 billion paper ounces in the middle of the night to crash the price by $10. Do not flinch. Laugh at them. Realize that every time they smash the price, they are just digging the hole deeper. They are just adding more fuel to the eventual explosion. They are fighting gravity. They are fighting geology. They are fighting a mobilized global army of apes who know the math. They cannot win. The only way they win is if you sell. And I know you. You are not selling. You are holding the line. You are waiting for the whites of their eyes. The casino is burning down. The exits are locked, and the fire trucks are filled with gasoline. The gamma squeeze is the purification of the financial system by fire. When the smoke clears, the banks will be ash, and your silver will be the only thing left standing. In the final part of this video, I am going to give you the target, the specific number where the system breaks completely. I am going to explain the infinity squeeze concept, where the dollar price becomes meaningless because nobody will trade silver for dollars anymore. We will talk about the end game strategy. When do you finally trade your silver, and what do you trade it for? Because you don't want to trade it for a dead currency. You want to trade it for a kingdom. The death spiral is here. The trap is sprung. Enjoy the show.
We have arrived at the final number, the destination of this journey. We have talked about the mechanics of the squeeze and the desperation of the banks, but now we have to talk about the target. Everyone asks me, John, what is the number? Is it $1,000? Is it $5,000? The answer is going to shock you. The answer is that there is no number. We are entering the phase of the infinity squeeze. To understand the infinity squeeze, you have to stop thinking like a trader and start thinking like a historian. When a currency dies, the price of real assets does not just go up, it effectively becomes infinite in terms of that dying currency. In 1923 Weimar Germany, an ounce of silver was worth billions of marks. Was the silver worth more? No, the mark was worth zero. We are approaching a moment where the US dollar, the currency used to measure the price of silver, is being mathematically destroyed by the very bailout required to save the banks from their silver short positions. It is a paradox. To save the banks from the silver squeeze, the Federal Reserve has to print trillions of dollars. This printing devalues the dollar. As the dollar loses value, investors rush into silver to protect themselves. This pushes the price of silver higher. Higher silver prices cause more losses for the banks, so the Fed prints more money. It is a doom loop. It is a snake eating its own tail. And the only way it ends is when the dollar is no longer accepted as a valid measurement of value. So when you ask me for a price target, I tell you this: the price of silver is whatever you want it to be. If you hold the physical metal, you dictate the terms. You are no longer a price taker. You are a price maker. This is the ultimate victory of the gamma squeeze. It destroys the pricing mechanism itself. The COMEX screen will eventually just go blank, or it will show a number that is meaningless because nobody will sell at that price. The real price will be negotiated in private, asset for asset.
This brings us to the most critical part of your strategy, the exit. You have held the line. You have squeezed the banks. You are sitting on a stack of metal that is now worth a fortune. What do? Do you sell it for dollars? Absolutely not. That is the trap. That is how they get you back. They want you to trade your priceless, scarce strategic asset for their worthless, abundant printed paper. If silver hits $1,000 and you sell your stack for $1 million cash, you might feel rich for a week. But then you go to the grocery store and a loaf of bread costs $200. You go to buy a house and it costs $10 million. You realize that you didn't make a profit, you just realized a nominal gain in a collapsing currency. You traded a king for a pauper. The strategy is not to sell. The strategy is to swap. You swap your silver for cash-flowing assets. You swap it for farmland that produces food. You swap it for rental real estate that produces income. You swap it for a business that produces goods. You move from one hard asset to another hard asset, completely bypassing the fiat currency system. You use the temporary spike in purchasing power to acquire the permanent means of production. This is how dynastic wealth is built. The old aristocratic families of Europe didn't hold cash. They held land. They held gold. They held art. They understood that paper money is a tool for the working class to transact, but real assets are the tool for the ruling class to rule. The gamma squeeze is your invitation to join the ruling class. It is your ticket out of the rat race. But you must be patient. This is the hardest part. When the price spikes to $100, the temptation to sell will be overwhelming. Your family will tell you to sell. Your friends will tell you to sell. The news will scream that it is a bubble. You must ignore them. You must look at the fundamentals. Has the banking system been fixed? No. Has the industrial shortage been solved? No. Has the government stopped printing money? No.
As long as the fundamental drivers are still in place, the squeeze is not over. Selling early is the biggest mistake you can make. It is like folding a royal flush because you are afraid the other guy might have a pair of twos. You have the winning hand. Play it all the way to the end. The psychological shift we are witnessing is profound. For decades, the banks were the masters of the universe. They looked down on the little guy. They manipulated the market with impunity. Now, the fear in their eyes is visible. They are realizing that the digital illusion they built is shattering against the rock of physical reality. They are realizing that they cannot eat Bitcoin. They cannot live in a stock certificate. They cannot build a missile with a derivative contract.
We are returning to the base layer of reality, and in that layer, silver is king. It is the most conductive, reflective, and indispensable metal on Earth. It is the bridge between the old world and the new, and you own it. You didn't just buy a metal, you bought a share in the future of civilization. The transfer of wealth is going to be messy. It is going to be chaotic. There will be anger. There will be political hearings. They will try to tax windfall profits on precious metals. They will try to villainize you. But they cannot change the fact that you prepared and they did not. You sacrificed consumption to save. They engaged in reckless speculation. This is the reckoning. And let's be clear about who we are fighting. We are not fighting capitalism. We are fighting cronyism. We are fighting a system that privatizes gains and socializes losses. The gamma squeeze is the free market finally waking up and punching the manipulators in the face. It is the market saying enough. It is the market demanding honest price discovery. When this is over, the landscape of the financial world will be unrecognizable. The big banks will be broken up or nationalized.
The COMEX will likely be abolished or irrelevant. A new system will emerge, likely backed by a basket of commodities. And in that new system, your silver will be the cornerstone. So, as we approach the final climax of this drama, I want you to stay calm. Do not let the volatility shake you out. If the price drops $20 in a minute, laugh. If it goes up $50 in a minute, stay humble. Remember the mission. The mission is not just to make money. The mission is to break the chains of financial slavery. You are part of a historical movement, a silent army of millions of people around the world who looked at the lies and decided to opt out. You voted with your wallet. You voted for truth. And now the ballots are being counted and the landslide is undeniable. The $1,000 target is just a signpost on the road to infinity. It is the point where the illusion breaks. It is the point where the world realizes that the emperor is naked. But for you, it is just validation. You knew this day was coming. You prepared for it. And now you are ready to reap the harvest. Do not trade your freedom for their paper. Hold the line. Squeeze them until the pips squeak. Squeeze them until the vaults are swept clean. Squeeze them until the truth is the only thing left standing. The death spiral is terminal. The patient cannot be saved. The banking system is brain dead, kept alive only by the life support of the Federal Reserve. We are just waiting for the plug to be pulled. And when it is, the darkness will be total for those who hold paper, but the light will be blinding for those who hold silver. This is the greatest opportunity of your life. Do not waste it. Do not sell cheap. Do not settle for scraps. You deserve the whole meal. You deserve the kingdom. The gamma squeeze is not a theory. It is happening now. The math is inevitable. The outcome is written. The only variable is your resolve.